Right now, above your head, one man controls more satellites than every government on Earth combined. And he's just getting started. In the next 10 minutes, you'll see how SpaceX built the most dangerous monopoly in human history and why no one can stop it. Let me show you something terrifying. On any given night, look up at the stars. Those tiny dots moving across the sky? Most of them aren't stars anymore. They're Starlink satellites. Over 6,000 of them, all owned by one company, SpaceX. But here's what keeps military generals awake at night. That number is about to explode to 42,000 satellites, maybe more, all controlled by Elon Musk. Welcome to the new space race. Except there is no race. Everyone else already lost. Let me take you back to understand how we got here. To 2015, when SpaceX did something impossible. They landed a rocket, vertically, after it went to space, like something from a science fiction movie. The aerospace industry laughed. Then they stopped laughing. Because SpaceX just broke the most expensive barrier in human history, the cost of reaching space. Every rocket before SpaceX was disposable. Use it once, throw it away. Like a $40 million paper airplane. Imagine buying a new Boeing 747 for every single flight. That was space travel. SpaceX changed everything. Their Falcon 9 rocket lands itself, gets refurbished, flies again, and again, and again. The cost to launch 1 kilogram to space? It used to be $18,000 with NASA's space shuttle. With SpaceX, $1,500. That's not an improvement, that's a revolution. And here's where it gets dangerous. Because cheap rockets meant SpaceX could do something no one else dared to attempt. Fill the sky with thousands of satellites. The economics are brutal. Horrifying for competitors. Each Starlink satellite costs about $500,000 to build. Sounds expensive, right? Wrong. SpaceX launches 60 satellites at once, on their own rockets, for almost no marginal cost. Do the math. They're putting $30 million worth of satellites into orbit, or maybe $3 million in launch costs. Their competitors? They have to pay someone else to launch, usually SpaceX. Wait, it gets worse. Traditional satellite internet companies like Viasat or HughesNet, they use big, expensive satellites in high orbit. Each one costs $300 million, takes 5 years to build, requires a massive rocket to launch. You launch one, hope it works, hope it doesn't fail, because you just bet the entire company on a single satellite. Starlink satellites are tiny, mass-produced, deliberately cheap. If 10 fail, who cares? Launch 60 more next month. This is what monopoly looks like in the 21st century. It's not about being evil. It's about being so far ahead that competition becomes mathematically impossible. Let me show you the kill shot. SpaceX now controls roughly 70% of all global rocket launches. Not just American launches, global. They launch more mass to orbit than every country and every company on Earth combined. Combined? Think about that for a second. One private company outlifting China, Russia, Europe, India, everyone. And they're using that launch capacity to build their own satellite constellation, while charging competitors premium prices to launch their satellites. It's vertical integration on a scale that would make John the 500th Rockefeller weep with envy. But the real power isn't in space, it's in what comes next. Internet access from anywhere on Earth. Your phone in the Sahara Desert? Full signal. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean? Perfect connection. Starlink is already providing broadband to over 2 million customers in 60 countries. And here's the nightmare scenario for traditional telecom. For 100 years, telecommunications meant cables. Underground, undersea, physical infrastructure worth trillions of dollars. AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, they built empires on those cables. Starlink makes them obsolete. Why pay Comcast $80 a month when Starlink costs $90 and works literally everywhere? The telecom giants see what's coming. They're terrified because they can't compete. The barriers to entry are too high. Want to build your own satellite constellation? You need reusable rockets. SpaceX took 20 years and billions to develop theirs. You need launch capacity. SpaceX has it, you don't. You need radio frequency spectrum. Starlink already claimed the best bands. You need ground stations. Starlink has thousands. Oh, and you need about $10 billion in capital. And a decade of losses before profitability. Good luck raising that money when investors know SpaceX has a 10-year head start. Amazon is trying. Their Project Kuiper aims to launch 3,000 satellites. But they don't have their own rocket yet. And guess who they're paying to launch some of their satellites? SpaceX. You literally have to pay your competitor to help you compete against them. That's not a market, that's a hostage situation. Now let's talk about what really matters. Power. Because Starlink isn't just a business, it's a geopolitical weapon. February 2022, Russia invades Ukraine. First thing they do? Attack communication infrastructure. Ukraine's internet starts going dark. Military coordination becomes impossible. Then something unprecedented happens. Elon Musk activates Starlink over Ukraine for free. Thousands of terminals shipped within days. Suddenly, Ukraine has connectivity even as Russian missiles crater their telecom infrastructure. Ukrainian drones, controlled via Starlink. Artillery coordinates, Starlink. Zelensky's video addresses, Starlink. One man, one company. Changed the outcome of a war. Incredible, right? Also, terrifying. Because later, Musk turned off Starlink coverage during a Ukrainian offensive near Crimea. He personally intervened to prevent a drone attack on Russian ships. His reason? Preventing nuclear escalation. Maybe he was right. Maybe he was wrong. But here's the question that should haunt you. Should one private citizen have the power to unilaterally decide the outcome of military operations? The Pentagon didn't authorize that Starlink shutdown. The president didn't order it. Congress didn't vote on it. Elon Musk just decided. And there was nothing anyone could do about it. Because he owns the infrastructure. This is what monopoly power looks like in the satellite age. It's not about money, it's about leverage over nations. Let me show you how deep this goes. Taiwan. The island democracy that China claims as its own. If China invades, first move is cutting undersea internet cables. Taiwan's connection to the world? Gone. Unless they have Starlink. But what if Musk decides China is too important a market? What if he cuts a deal? Or Yemen, where Saudi Arabia fights Iranian-backed rebels. Starlink could provide connectivity, but to which side? Or Iran, where protesters need internet to organize. Starlink could help if Musk decides to activate coverage. Every authoritarian regime on Earth now faces a problem. You can cut cables, jam cell towers, control internet providers, but you can't easily jam thousands of satellites unless you negotiate with Elon Musk. And that's where it gets really uncomfortable because Musk has other businesses. Tesla factories in China, billions in revenue from Beijing. What happens when China asks him to deny Starlink to Taiwan? Can he say no? What happens when Russia offers him something valuable? When India makes demands? When the US military conflicts with his personal views? We've handed one man the keys to global communication infrastructure, and we're just hoping he uses it responsibly. There's no regulatory framework for this, no oversight, no democratic control. The FCC licenses satellites, they don't control geopolitics. Now let's talk about the worst case scenario. The one that keeps space experts awake? Kessler syndrome. It's simple, horrible, and increasingly likely. Put too many satellites in orbit, and eventually one collision creates debris. That debris hits other satellites, creating more debris. A chain reaction. Within hours, low Earth orbit becomes a minefield of shrapnel traveling at 17,000 miles per hour. Every satellite gets destroyed, including Starlink, including GPS, including spy satellites and weather monitoring. Space becomes unusable. For decades, maybe centuries, we lose global communications. Navigation systems fail. Modern civilization has a very bad day. And right now, SpaceX is launching satellites faster than anyone can track the collision risks. They say their satellites can auto-dodge debris. They're probably right. Probably. But what happens when there are 42,000 Starlink satellites? When China launches their own mega constellation? When Amazon adds theirs? We're conducting an experiment with only one possible trial. If we're wrong, we can't undo it. Low Earth orbit isn't infinite. It's a shared resource. Like the ocean, like the atmosphere, and we're letting one company treat it like private property. So what happens if we need to stop Starlink? If something goes wrong? Here's the brutal truth. We can't. SpaceX is now critical infrastructure. The US military uses Starlink. Civilian ships rely on it. Emergency services depend on it. Airlines are installing it. Cruise ships, hospitals in remote areas. It's already too embedded to fail. That's what monopoly looks like. Not just market dominance, systemic necessity. You become so essential that the system can't function without you. And then you're untouchable. Standard Oil was broken up. AT&T was broken up. But how do you break up a satellite constellation? Order SpaceX to deorbit half their satellites? Crash the system millions depend on? Create a competitor? With what rockets? What spectrum? What 10-year head start? We've built a single point of failure into global communications, and we did it in less than 5 years. The craziest part? This might be good. Starlink connects remote schools, disaster zones, developing nations with no infrastructure. It breaks telecom monopolies, brings competition, drives down prices. When hurricanes destroy cell towers, Starlink keeps working. When earthquakes cut cables, Starlink keeps working. It's genuinely revolutionary technology, genuinely useful, but it's also genuinely dangerous, because we've never had a private monopoly on something this essential, this powerful, this impossible to regulate, and it's controlled by one person, who's brilliant, visionary, unpredictable, and increasingly unaccountable. So here's the question we should be asking. Who controls the skies? Right now the answer is simple. One man, one company, and the window to change that is closing fast. Every satellite they launch makes the monopoly stronger. Every customer who connects makes it harder to unwind. We're not watching a monopoly being built. We're watching it become permanent. And we're all just looking up, watching those dots cross the night sky, wondering if we should have asked more questions before we handed someone the keys to space.